The Galactic Council's response to the Terra Gate shutdown was swift and overwhelming. Over 300 alien vessels entered the Sol system expecting to face a primitive human defense force that would surrender quickly once they realized the hopelessness of their situation. Instead, they encountered something no species in the galaxy had seen for millennia, which was a unified world fighting desperately for its survival. Fleet Admiral Zorak divided his massive armada into attack groups that would strike Earth's defense platforms simultaneously. His strategy was based on standard council doctrine that had been used successfully against dozens of rebellious worlds over the centuries. Overwhelming force applied quickly would break human resistance and force them to accept council authority. Commander Tony Lewis led Earth's fighter squadrons in the first engagement against alien forces, and the results surprised everyone, including the humans themselves. His pilots used hit-and-run tactics that confused the alien commanders, who expected formal battle lines and honorable single combat. Instead, human fighters appeared from asteroid fields, struck hard, and disappeared before the aliens could respond effectively. Target their supply ships and communication arrays. Tony ordered his pilots. Make them blind and hungry, then hit their battle groups when they try to resupply. The human fighters were smaller and faster than anything the Council used in their fleets. They had been designed specifically for fighting in asteroid fields and debris clouds where larger ships could not follow. The aliens found themselves chasing shadows while their logistics network fell apart around them. Admiral Lisa Kane coordinated Earth's defense from the hidden command center and watched as the battle developed exactly as humanity had planned. The secret defense platforms that had been disguised as mining stations revealed their true nature by unleashing devastating firepower on alien battle groups that came too close to inhabited worlds. Defense Platform 7 reports successful engagement with Hegemony Cruiser Squadron. Lisa announced, enemy vessels are withdrawing toward the outer system with heavy damage. The aliens had expected to face outdated human technology, but instead encountered weapon systems that were decades ahead of anything in Council arsenals. Humanity had spent 70 years developing military technology in secret while pretending to be peaceful members of galactic society. The deception was now paying off in ways the Council never anticipated. Captain Jake Morrison commanded the heavy cruiser Earth's Pride in a running battle with Dominion forces near Jupiter's moons. His ship was outnumbered 5-1, but the EI human vessel was faster and better armed than the alien commanders realized. Jake used the gas giant's gravity well to sling shot around moons and appear where enemies least expected him. Enemy battle group is following us into the radiation. Jake told his crew, activate magnetic shielding and prepare to reverse course. They do not know their ships cannot handle this level of radiation exposure. The alien ships that followed Earth's Pride into Jupiter's radiation belt suffered immediate system failures as their shielding proved inadequate for the intense electromagnetic environment. 3 Dominion cruisers were forced to withdraw with disabled weapon systems, while Jake's ship emerged unharmed and ready to continue fighting. Captain Laura Green commanded the assault ship New Liberty when she received orders to capture an alien command vessel if possible. Intelligence about Council battle plans and communication codes could turn the tide of the entire battle. Her crew prepared for the most dangerous mission of their careers, which was boarding an enemy ship during active combat. Remember, they expect us to fight like civilized galactic citizens, Laura told her boarding teams. Show them what human Marines can do when their home is threatened. The boarding action lasted only 20 minutes, but it provided humanity with intelligence that changed everything they thought they knew about the Council's motivations. The captured alien officers revealed under interrogation that the attack on Earth had nothing to do with security concerns or human aggression. It was about preventing humanity from becoming strong enough to challenge the established galactic order. They fear us because we adapt too quickly, Laura reported to Admiral Kane. In 2 centuries, we went from primitives to equals, and they think we will eventually surpass them. This war is not about protection, but about keeping us down. The siege of Sol continued for 2 weeks with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. The aliens had superior numbers, but the humans fought with a desperation and creativity that frustrated every Council battle plan. Human ships appeared where they should not be disappeared when cornered, and struck with weapons that alien intelligence had severely underestimated. Dr. Helen Wright worked frantically to develop new defensive technologies as the battle raged around Earth. The collapse of the Terra Gate had released massive amounts of exotic matter into local space, and she realized this energy could be weaponized in ways the aliens would never expect. "We can create localized space distortions that will disable their faster-than-light drives," she told Director Alex Chen. "If we can trap their fleet in normal space, our fighters will have a huge advantage." The exotic matter weapon was deployed. During the third week of fighting, and its effects were immediate and devastating. Alien ships found themselves unable to escape the Sol system as their jump drives failed one by one. What had been intended as a quick punitive expedition turned into a prolonged siege with no clear end in sight. Commander Kate Davis led a reconnaissance mission to the edge of the system and discovered something that would change the entire war. Her sensors detected massive Council reinforcements approaching Sol, but these new ships belonged to species that had not been part of the original attack force. "Admiral, we have a problem," Kate reported. "Sensors show at least 500 additional ships approaching, but they are not all Council forces. Some of these signatures match species that have been fighting the Council for years." The approaching fleet included vessels from the Collective and other alien species that had opposed the protection protocols from the beginning. They had come, not to help the Council crush humanity, but to assist Earth in its fight for independence. The galactic civil war that many had predicted was finally beginning. Admiral Zorak realized his position was becoming impossible as more alien species arrived to support humanity. His massive armada was trapped in the Sol system, unable to retreat and facing enemies on multiple fronts. The quick victory he had promised the Council was turning into a humiliating defeat. President Maria Santos received a transmission from Ambassador Gentai of the Collective, who offered humanity something they had never expected, which was alliance with other free species against Council tyranny. The message was brief, but it changed everything about Earth's situation. "The galaxy has waited long enough for someone to stand up to Council oppression," Gentai said. "Humanity has shown that resistance is possible, and now others will follow your example." Captain Morrison watched from Earth's Pride as Council ships began withdrawing from the inner system. The aliens were not retreating in defeat, but regrouping for what would likely be an even larger battle. The siege of Sol was ending, but the war for galactic freedom was just beginning. The Terra Gate had been completely destroyed, but in its place something new was emerging, which was a coalition of free species united in their opposition to Council control. Humanity had wanted only to be left alone, but instead they had become the spark that would ignite revolution across the entire galaxy. 3 days had passed since Admiral Lisa Kane delivered the shocking news about the Council's demands, and Earth's leadership worked around the clock, trying to find a peaceful solution. President Maria Santos had personally contacted every major Council member species, trying to understand why humanity was suddenly seen as a threat. The responses she received were not encouraging. Ambassador Ryan Cooper was stationed on Haven Station, which served as a neutral meeting place for different alien species. He sent urgent reports back to Earth about alien fleets moving toward human colonies. The message was becoming clear even without words. The Council expected Earth to accept their demands, and they were preparing to use force if necessary. Ryan had been a diplomat for 20 years and had built good relationships with many alien species. But even his closest contacts seemed afraid to speak openly about what was happening. During a private meeting with Ambassador Keloth from the Federation, he learned something disturbing. "Your species has grown too strong too quickly," Keloth whispered. "Many Council members fear that humans will eventually challenge their authority. These protection protocols are meant to prevent that from happening." Ryan realized that the Council's fears were not about human aggression, but about human potential. In just 2 centuries, humanity had gone from a single world species to having colonies across multiple systems. Human technology had advanced rapidly, and their military had proven effective in several conflicts. The established alien powers saw this growth as a threat to their control. Back on Earth, Dr. Helen Wright was making discoveries that changed everything. Humanity thought they knew about their relationship with the galaxy. As chief scientist of the Terra Gate project, she had access to operational data going back decades. What she found while reviewing this information made her call an emergency meeting with Director Alex Chen. The gate has been recording and transmitting data about every human ship that passes through it, she told him. The aliens have been monitoring our troop movements, communications, and even civilian travel for years. They know more about our military capabilities than some of our own generals do. Alex stared at the data displays showing years of unauthorized transmissions from the Terra Gate to various council worlds. The structure that humanity had proudly built as a gift to galactic civilization had been turned into a sophisticated spy network. Every human who had traveled through the gate had been tracked and recorded. How long has this been going on? Alex asked. Based on these logs, it started about 5 years after the gate became operational, Helen said. So roughly 190 years of constant surveillance. They have detailed information about every human colony ship movement and fleet deployment we have ever made. The betrayal was complete. For nearly 2 centuries, Earth had believed they were equal partners in a galactic alliance. Instead, they had been unwitting subjects under constant observation. The aliens had been preparing for this moment since humans first joined the Council. Colonel Steve Parker was meeting with Earth's top military commanders in a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. The intelligence reports he shared painted a grim picture of what was happening to human settlements throughout the galaxy. The Council was not waiting for Earth's response to begin what they called preliminary enforcement actions. New Boston Colony reported that Council ships arrived yesterday, Steve said. They separated families and took all children between the ages of 5 and 15 for what they called educational assessment. The adults were told the children would be returned after proper galactic citizenship training. Commander Kate Davis had been stationed at the frontier colony of New Texas for 2 years. Her report described Council forces demanding that mining quotas be tripled immediately. Families who had worked small independent claims for generations were being forced to work for Council-approved corporations. Those who refused were arrested. It gets worse, Steve continued. 3 human research stations in the Kepler sector have gone completely silent. The last transmission from Deep Space Station Alpha indicated that Council ships were approaching with boarding teams. That was 18 hours ago. The pattern was clear. While Earth's leadership tried to negotiate, the Council was already implementing their protection protocols on human settlements. They were treating the demands not as a proposal to be discussed, but as orders that were already in effect. The breaking point came when news arrived about New Virginia. The human settlement had been home to 8,000 colonists, including families whose ancestors had lived there for 4 generations. Captain Ben Foster of the patrol ship Liberty's Edge sent a final transmission before Council ships forced him to withdraw. They loaded everyone onto transport ships, Ben reported. Men, women, children, everyone. The Council commander said they were being relocated to proper facilities in the Outer Rim. When I asked about their homes and possessions, he said those would be redistributed to more suitable inhabitants. President Santos received Ben's report while meeting with her emergency council. The room fell silent as they absorbed what had happened. An entire human colony had been erased as if it had never existed. 8,000 people taken from their homes and shipped off to work camps because the Council decided they were in the wrong place. We cannot let this continue, Director Chen said. If we negotiate with them now, we will be negotiating from a position of complete weakness. They have already shown us what they think our people are worth. President Santos looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. These were people who had dedicated their lives to building peaceful relationships with alien species. Now they were being forced to choose between surrender and resistance. The choice was not really a choice at all. Dr. Wright, how quickly can we implement Protocol Omega? The president asked. Helen looked surprised. Protocol Omega was a theoretical, contingency plan that had been developed years ago but never tested. It would permanently disable the Terra Gate and cut Earth off from the galactic transportation network. It was designed as a last resort that would only be used if humanity's survival was threatened. The shutdown process would take approximately 6 hours, Helen said, but once we start, there is no going back. The gate uses exotic matter fields that cannot be restarted once they collapse. We would be completely isolated from the galaxy. And how long would it take the Council to realize what we are doing? Alex asked. They monitor the gate constantly, so they would know within minutes, Helen replied. They would probably try to stop us. President Santos stood and walked to the window overlooking the capital city. Millions of people lived their daily lives not knowing that their government was about to make a decision that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. She thought about the colonists who had already been taken and the families that had been separated. "Send recall orders to every human ship in galactic space," she said. "Tell them to return to Sol system immediately. Begin preparations for Protocol Omega, but do not implement it yet, and get me a direct communication channel to Council Speaker, Fextar." Colonel Parker activated his communication devices and began sending coded messages to human fleet commanders throughout the galaxy. The recall would take time, and some ships might not make it back before the Council realized what was happening. But they had to try to save as many humans as possible. President Santos prepared to deliver a message that would either save humanity or doom them to isolation among the stars. The Council had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed, and Earth was about to respond in a way that would shock the galaxy. Dr. Helen Wright had never worked so hard in her entire life. Protocol Omega required precise calculations and perfect timing, or the Terra Gate shutdown could destroy everything within 1,000,000 kilometers, including Earth itself. Her team of scientists worked around the clock, checking and rechecking every formula, while the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The Terra Gate was not just a transportation device, but a complex structure that bent space and time to allow faster than light travel. Shutting it down safely meant carefully releasing the exotic matter fields that held it together. If they made a mistake, the resulting explosion could crack planets and kill billions of people. "The containment fields are stable, but we only have one chance to get this right," Helen told Director Alex Chen. "Once we begin the shutdown sequence, there is no way to stop it. The gate will collapse within 6 hours and take several alien ships with it if they are too close." Captain Jake Morrison was coordinating the recall of human ships from across the galaxy. His job was to get as many humans home as possible before the gate closed forever. Some ships were only days away from Earth, but others were on the far side of Council space and might not make it in time. Lieutenant Commander Kate Davis commanded the exploration vessel New Horizon, which was conducting research near the edge of hegemony territory. When she received the recall order, she was extracting 3 isolated human research stations that had requested emergency evacuation. Council ships were already moving toward their positions. "We have maybe 6 hours before those hegemony cruisers reach Research Station Beta," Kate told her crew. "Load everyone you can and prepare for emergency jump to Sol system. Leave everything except the people." The research stations had been humanity's attempt to study phenomena that existed far from any inhabited worlds. The scientists working there had made important discoveries about dark matter and quantum mechanics. Now they had to abandon years of work and run for their lives because the Council decided humans were too dangerous to exist freely. Kate's ship managed to extract all 3 stations just as hegemony vessels arrived to claim them. The alien commanders were furious to find empty facilities instead of human prisoners, but there was nothing they could do. By the time they realized what had happened, New Horizon was already jumping toward Earth. The Council's response to the human recall was predictable and swift. Fleet Admiral Zorak of the Dominion Armada brought 200 warships to the edge of the Sol system. His transmission to Earth was broadcast on all frequencies, so every human world could hear it. "Humans of Earth, you have 48 hours to comply with Council protection protocols," Zorak announced. "Your attempt to withdraw from galactic society is unacceptable. Submit to Council authority or face the consequences of your defiance, President." Maria Santos received the transmission while standing in the hidden command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. She looked at the tactical displays showing hundreds of alien ships gathering at the edge of humanity's home system. The sight should have been terrifying, but instead, she felt strangely calm. "Admiral Kane, are our defense platforms ready?" she asked. Lisa Kane nodded and activated a series of displays that showed the true extent of Earth's preparations. For 70 years, humanity had been secretly building defensive systems throughout the Sol system. What looked like mining stations and research facilities were actually heavily armed battle platforms designed to protect Earth from exactly this kind of threat. Phase 1 platforms are online, Lisa reported. "We have 47 heavy defense stations positioned throughout the system, plus mobile units hidden in the asteroid belt. The aliens think they are facing a primitive planetary defense force, but they are about to discover otherwise. The secret construction had been humanity's insurance policy against the day when their alien allies might become enemies. Every mining expedition to the asteroids had carried hidden military equipment. Every research station built in the outer system concealed weapons and shields. Earth had prepared for war while hoping for peace. Dr. Wright initiated the final preparations for Protocol Omega. While alien ships continued to mass at the system's edge, the shutdown process would begin in 3 hours and nothing could stop it once it started. The Terra Gate that had connected Earth to the galaxy for 2 centuries would become nothing more than exotic particles scattered across space. Beginning. Preliminary shutdown procedures, Helen announced. All gate traffic is now suspended. Any ships still in transit will be automatically ejected at their nearest stable exit point. The gate had handled millions of ships over its operational lifetime, but now it would never see another vessel pass through its exotic matter fields. Helen felt sadness at destroying something so beautiful and useful, but she knew humanity had no choice. Freedom was worth more than convenience. Captain Morrison watched the tactical displays as more alien ships arrived at the edge of Sol system. The Council was bringing representatives from every major species to witness humanity's forced submission. They expected to see Earth surrender and accept protection like so many other worlds had done throughout galactic history. Commander Tony Lewis led Earth's fighter squadrons in final preparations for what was coming. His pilots were outnumbered 50-1, but they had advantages the aliens did not know about. Human fighters were faster and more maneuverable than anything the Council used, and they were equipped with weapons that had never been seen in galactic warfare. Remember the plan? Tony told his pilots. Hit them fast and fade into the asteroid fields. Make them think we are everywhere and nowhere. They expect us to fight like civilized galactic citizens, but we are going to fight like humans. The Council ships moved closer to Earth as the shutdown deadline approached. Admiral Zorak sent increasingly threatening messages demanding immediate surrender. He could not understand why a single world would dare to defy the combined might of the galaxy's greatest military forces. What Zorak did not realize was that humanity had learned important lessons from studying galactic warfare over the past 2 centuries. Council species fought according to ancient rules and traditions that emphasized honor and formal battle doctrine. Humans had no such traditions when it came to defending their home. Dr. Wright began the final shutdown sequence as alien ships reached the inner edge of the Sol system. Warning signals flashed throughout the Terra Gate structure as exotic matter fields started to destabilize. The process was irreversible, and within 6 hours the galaxy's most important transportation hub would cease to exist. Shutdown sequence initiated, Helen announced. All personnel evacuate gate vicinity immediately. Collapse will begin in 5 hours and 57 minutes. President Santos addressed the people of Earth on every available communication channel. Her words were carried to human colonies throughout the galaxy and to the Council ships that surrounded her world. Today, humanity chooses freedom over security and independence over submission, she said. We will not be controlled or contained or treated as second-class citizens in our own galaxy. The Council demanded our surrender, but they will get our defiance instead. The Terra Gate began to glow with dangerous energy as its containment field started failing in a controlled manner. Several alien ships that had moved too close were forced to retreat as exotic matter particles began reaching dangerous levels. The countdown to humanity's isolation had begun and there was no turning back. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet Command Station, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. The year was 2387, and humanity had been part of the Galactic Council for almost 200 years. Earth served as one of the most important worlds in the galaxy because of the Terra Gate that sat in orbit around the planet. This huge structure allowed ships to travel faster than light across 12 different star systems and made trade possible between hundreds of alien worlds. Jake had been a captain for 15 years and had seen many changes in how the galaxy worked. When humans first joined the Council, they were excited to be part of something bigger than their own world. The aliens seemed friendly enough, and humans were eager to help with keeping peace across the stars. Earth provided soldiers and ships, and technology to help protect other worlds from pirates and raiders. The morning started like any other day until Admiral Lisa Kane called him on the secure communication channel. Lisa was Earth's main representative to the Galactic Council, and she rarely contacted individual captains unless something important was happening. Her face appeared on the screen, and Jake could see worry in her eyes even though she tried to hide it. "Jake, we need to talk right away," she said. "The Council has sent us new orders and they are not what we expected." Jake had known Lisa for 10 years and had never seen her look so concerned. She was one of the toughest people he knew and had faced down alien pirates and hostile fleets without showing fear. If something was bothering her this much, then it had to be serious. "What kind of orders, Admiral?" Jake asked. Lisa looked around as if checking to make sure no one else could hear their conversation, even though they were using the most secure channel available to Earth's military. "They are calling them protection protocols," she said, "but they sound more like surrender terms to me." Jake felt his stomach tighten. In all his years serving in the defense fleet, he had never heard of protection protocols. The Galactic Council had always treated Earth as an equal partner, even if humans were newer to space travel than most other species. The idea that they would need protection from their own allies made no sense. "The Council wants us to turn over all of our defensive systems," Lisa continued. "They want to place their own military forces on Earth and in the Sol system. They also want to start something they call genetic screening of all human children, and they want us to move 60% of our population to mining colonies in the Outer Rim." Jake stared at the screen, unable to believe what he was hearing. The demands were crazy and went against everything the Council had promised when humans first joined. Moving more than half of Earth's people to mining colonies sounded like slavery with extra steps. "They say it is because humans are too aggressive and unpredictable," Lisa said. "Council Speaker Vextar from the Hegemony made the announcement yesterday. He claims that human expansion into new systems is threatening the stability of the galaxy." Jake knew about Vextar and his species, the Hegemony. They controlled about 30 systems and had been part of the Council longer than almost any other group. They were known for being very controlling and had never seemed to like humans very much. But Jake had always thought the other Council members would keep them from doing anything too extreme. "What does President Santos think about this?" Jake asked. "She is calling an emergency meeting with Director Alex Chen from Strategic Command," Lisa said. "They want to find a diplomatic solution, but I do not think the Council is interested in negotiating." The way Vextar presented these demands made it clear they expect complete compliance. Jake had met Director Chen several times and knew him to be a smart man who always tried to find peaceful solutions to problems. If anyone could find a way out of this situation, it would be him. But the demands were so extreme that Jake wondered if diplomacy would be enough. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. "The Council wants an answer within 1 week," Lisa said. "They have already started moving fleets toward human colonies in the outer systems. It looks like they are preparing to enforce these demands whether we agree or not." Jake thought about the human colonies that were scattered across different star systems. Most of them were small settlements with families who had lived there for generations. The idea of alien fleets threatening these peaceful communities made his anger grow. "There is something else, Jake," Lisa said. "I have been reviewing communication logs from the past few months, and I think the Council has been watching us more closely than we realized. Some of our supposedly secure channels may not be as secure as we thought." This news was almost as disturbing as the demands themselves. If the Council had been spying on Earth, then their partnership had been built on lies from the beginning. Jake wondered what else they had been hiding from humanity. "What do you want me to do, Admiral?" Jake asked. "Keep your ships ready and watch for any unusual alien activity in the Sol system." Lisa said, "I have a feeling things are going to get complicated very quickly. Also start thinking about what we would do if we could not use the Terra Gate anymore." The idea of losing the Terra Gate was almost unthinkable. The massive structure had been humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization, and losing it would cut Earth off from the rest of the galaxy. But Jake was starting to realize that being cut off might be better than accepting the Council's demands. After the call ended, Jake stood alone on the bridge thinking about everything Lisa had told him. Humanity had spent 2 centuries building relationships with alien species and contributing to galactic peace. Now it seemed like all of that work meant nothing to the Council. They saw humans as a threat to be controlled rather than partners, to be respected. Jake activated his ship's communication system and began sending coded messages to other Earth Defense Fleet captains. If the Council wanted to treat humanity like prisoners, then they were going to discover that humans did not accept chains easily. The next week would determine whether Earth remained free or became just another controlled world in the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the siege of Sol ended, and Earth stood transformed by its victory against impossible odds. The alien forces that had come to impose Council authority had been defeated, not through superior firepower but through human determination and the support of unexpected allies. Admiral Lisa Kane reviewed casualty reports that would have seemed impossible before the war began, with entire alien battle groups destroyed or captured by human defenders. The isolation that was meant to be Earth's punishment had become its greatest strength. Without the need to follow Council regulations or maintain diplomatic relationships with species that viewed them as threats, humanity was free to develop technology and strategy without restraint. The results were remarkable even by human standards. Dr. Helen Wright led breakthrough research into new propulsion systems that would make humanity independent of gate technology forever. Working with exotic matter recovered from the Terra Gate's destruction, her team had developed faster-than-light drives that were smaller, faster, and more efficient than anything the Council possessed. "We can reach any system within 50 light years in less than a week," she reported to Director Alex Chen. "The new drives do not require gate networks or exotic matter infrastructure. Every human ship can become its own gateway to the stars." The technological revolution extended far beyond propulsion systems. Human weapons had proven superior to alien designs during the siege, and now Earth's factories worked around the clock to build ships and equipment for their new allies. Species that had suffered under Council oppression for centuries suddenly had access to military technology that could challenge their oppressors. President Maria Santos stood in her office looking out at a world that had changed completely in just 6 months. The emergency war measures were still in effect, but Earth's economy was booming as demand for human technology spread throughout the galaxy. What had been intended as punishment had become the foundation for a new kind of prosperity. Captain Jake Morrison prepared for humanity's first major exploration mission since the gate shutdown. His new ship, the Defiance, was equipped with the latest human technology and carried a crew eager to discover what lay beyond the boundaries of Council space. They would be the first humans to venture into the unknown regions where free species might be waiting for contact. "Our mission is to find worlds that want freedom more than they want Council protection," Jake told his crew. "We are not going as conquerors, but as partners who understand what it means to fight for independence." Thor. Exploration of previously unknown space revealed something that shocked even the most optimistic human planners. Dozens of species existed beyond Council territory, and many of them had been hiding from galactic civilization for centuries to avoid subjugation. They had developed their own technologies and societies while remaining isolated from the larger galaxy. Captain Laura Green commanded the diplomatic vessel Hope's Light when she made first contact with the Wanderer civilization near the galactic rim. These aliens had left Council space over 1,000 years ago, rather than accept the limitations placed on their technological development. Their reaction to meeting humans was both surprising and encouraging. "You are the first species we have encountered that chose freedom over security," the Wanderer leader told Laura. "We have watched the galaxy from afar and wondered if anyone would ever stand up to Council control. Your victory has given hope to species throughout the outer regions." Commander Tony Lewis led fighter squadrons on patrol missions that revealed the true extent of Council weakness. Without the ability to use Earth's gate system, their logistics network was falling apart, and several member species were beginning to question their continued participation in the alliance. The galactic order that had seemed permanent for millennia was cracking under the pressure of human resistance. "Council ships are avoiding our territory completely now," Tony reported. "They know they cannot win another direct confrontation, and their member species are starting to realize that Council protection is not worth the cost of freedom." Ambassador Ryan Cooper had returned from Haven Station with reports that the Council was facing internal rebellion on multiple fronts. Species that had been loyal members for centuries were demanding greater autonomy or threatening to withdraw entirely. The protection protocols that were meant to prevent challenges to Council authority had instead triggered the largest galactic crisis in recorded history. Dr. Wright made another breakthrough when she discovered how to create artificial gate networks that could connect free worlds without relying on Council infrastructure. The technology was based on principles learned from studying the Terra Gate, but improved to be more secure and harder for enemies to monitor or control. We can build a communication and transportation network that links every free world in the galaxy, she told President Santos. It will be controlled by the worlds that use it rather than by any central authority. No species will ever again be cut off from their allies. Captain Morrison's exploration missions discovered something even more significant than new allies or resources. In the outer regions of the galaxy, his crew found evidence of an ancient civilization that had once challenged Council authority and lost. The ruins contained technology and records that revealed the true history of galactic civilization. The Council is not the original galactic government, Morrison reported. They destroyed a federation of free worlds over 10,000 years ago and have been maintaining control through fear and manipulation ever since. We are not the first species to resist them, but we might be the first with a real chance of winning. The revelation changed everything about how humanity viewed their conflict with the Council. They were not rebels fighting against legitimate authority, but freedom fighters working to restore justice to a galaxy that had been oppressed for millennia. The discovery gave moral weight to their cause and attracted even more species to their alliance. Commander Kate Davis established the first human colony outside Sol system on a world that offered perfect conditions for Earth-type life. New Haven became humanity's first step toward spreading throughout the galaxy, not as subjects of alien authority, but as partners in a growing coalition of free species. President Santos received regular reports about Council attempts to negotiate a settlement to the conflict, but the terms they offered were unacceptable to any free society. They wanted humanity to return to the old system of controlled expansion and limited autonomy in exchange for being allowed to keep some of their new territories. They still do not understand what this is about, she told her advisors. This is not about territory or resources, but about the right of intelligent species to determine their own destiny. We cannot compromise on freedom, because freedom cannot be partially granted. The new human settlement ships launched toward distant stars carried more than colonists and equipment. They carried the promise of a different kind of galactic civilization where species worked together as equals rather than subjects and rulers. Each new colony became a beacon of hope for worlds still under Council control. Director Alex Chen stood in the ruins of the Terra Gate facility, watching construction begin on something entirely new. The human gate network would connect Earth to free worlds throughout the galaxy and serve as the foundation for a civilization based on cooperation rather than domination. The age of Council control was ending, and humanity had proven that sometimes the only way to maintain peace was to be prepared for war. Earth had chosen isolation to preserve freedom, and discovered that freedom shared with others was stronger than security imposed by force. The galaxy would never be the same because one species had refused to accept that might makes right, and had shown others that resistance was not only possible, but necessary for any civilization that valued justice over order.